Hello, ladies and gentlemen, chiropractors from around the world. Thank you for being on the Ask Dr. Zaino show. We are on episode 42, and this is the beginning of a series called Get Your Money Right. It is going to be an awesome episode. I'm so glad dozens of you are already on live. I just want to introduce you to what you're looking at. You're on live. You're at chirothoughtleaders.com/ask-dr-zaino. Right below the video, you'll see a big yellow button, Build Plus Bonuses, with an exclamation point there. That will be explained in just a second. You're welcome to click on that. Check it out. Right below that button, you'll see all of our social media links. Make sure you like it, plus it, tweet it, all those great things. And then below that, this is the chat roll where you can log in and talk to us tonight. Ask any questions, give us feedback, and I'll make sure that Garrett and Zaino get everything that you put in there. So I am just introducing everybody tonight, and then I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Zaino. Here you go, my friend.
Am I up?
You're up.
Welcome, everybody. Thanks so much for being on here. It's the end of the year. And, like I said, we don't stop. December means nothing. In fact, the months of the year are made up by people. There's nothing special about December. And if you want January to be good, it's got to start now. So you should be cruising. Christmas is on a weekend. New Year's is on a weekend. So there's really shouldn't be no reason to stop. But since I've been doing the Boost calls, if you haven't, hooked up with Boost, email us. But I've been doing consultations with different doctors. And it just all the way around, we see the financial thing, the scarcity mindset coming through, and it's paralyzing you. It's preventing you from expanding. So you're not just contracting during the holidays, you're contracting the entire year. And you're keeping yourself from investing back into your purpose, into your business to truly help people on a bigger scale. And it is from belief systems, from your parents, from your teachers, from your preachers, from your old coaching companies. I get it. I've been there. So all these people have influenced your life, but usually the people who tell you to do those things, they have no cash the way it is. So you can't, I like to quote, you can't listen to a quitter, right? So don't take your advice from quitters, especially when they're not doing and at the level where you want to be. And so that's why, I emailed Garrett. I'm saying, hey, listen, we got to do something. It's a perfect time to do it because everybody's during the holidays. But for those of you that are committed to reaching your absolute goals in life and reaching your potential, we're going to knock this scarcity mindset out so you could fully expand starting now through 2017 and for the rest of your life. Since I met Garrett Gunderson, he really taught me about soul purpose, got me out of the scarcity mindset, because I'll tell you right now, if you think the day is going to come when you see a certain number in your bank account or your net worth, and then all of a sudden this feeling of scarcity goes away, it'll never happen. It has to be a conscious decision, and you have to literally transform. The old part has to die off. So the amount of money in the bank account's not going to cure this contracting thing. I mean, just think, you guys are at church, you're seeing Dave Ramsey or Susie Orman. They're telling you to, like Garrett says, live below your means, eat rice and beans. Most people are dead at 50 because they do that, and you live a piss poor life. And the biggest shame is what could have been. So I don't support that. I support expansion and growth and thinking outside the box. And this is where, it's not outside the box. It's getting you out of the box that has kept you really mediocre for your entire life. So if you want to be above average, then this will definitely be the start for it. But it doesn't start and end here tonight. This starts the journey that you have to continue to do and take precedence in. So I'm going to introduce you to Garrett. Garrett and I are going to be going back and forth. And so Garrett Gunderson, New York Times bestseller.
Nice. Hey, I'm looking forward to having this conversation for a few reasons. Number one is that there's a lot of misinformation and myths that hold people back, especially in the chiropractic profession. Number two, no matter how hard you work, if you have the wrong financial philosophy or you're indoctrinated with scarcity, you're never going to be wealthy or happy. So we have to address that first and foremost. And the container that Chris is talking about is the vision that you have when it comes to money, when it comes to finances. Your entire level of production will be limited if you really see your current financial situation as what's possible for yourself. You have to actually create a compelling vision bigger than what you're currently facing in order to get past that initial piece. And so I want to help people get through that. And I want to kind of do a reality check on some of this and really address some of the things that a lot of people hold as sacred financial beliefs that actually are absolutely, lies is the best way to say it. And if you believe those lies, it's just going to be a damaging situation, because 98% of doctors, when they get to age 65, are not financially independent, meaning they can't stop working and have enough cash flow to cover their expenses. That's a travesty. That's sad. And the other thing is, some actually want to retire because they do the wrong things throughout their entire life, and then they just want to stop doing it because they're worn out, because they're exhausted, because they thought hard work was just going to get them there. But I'm going to tell you, you know, Chris, we were interviewing you in Park City once, and you said, you know what, before money mastered me, but now I'm the master of my money. And I look at kind of your more abundant approach, the way you take and tackle investing, and the way that we kind of make sure to protect and create measures to stay focused instead of getting distracted and outside things. And I've just watched you continue to grow, make a bigger impact, and continue to ask more powerful questions on what the next chapter is going to be. And I would love to see other people accomplish that, because I think right now they look at you and they go, yeah, look at Chris, look where he's at, look at everything he's accomplished. But you drove to Houston after graduating, you know, chiropractic college with not a whole lot of resources and definitely deep in scarcity. And within a short period of time, you got past that. Number one, you just don't have excuses. You just focus on results. And the time most people spend complaining and frustrated, you spend studying and productive. And so I want to use that example and actually outline a very specific path where people can be more prosperous.
Yeah, right. It was the circumstances. What I noticed was that despite, you know, right now people are doing great, making millions and billions of dollars, and people aren't. And it's the same economy, it's the same circumstances, and you know what? It's going to be the same thing 5 or 10 years from now. So you can't wait till it comes to you. So you have to change yourself and learn more, develop more skills to be able to do it. And that's when I talked to Dan Yachter at that point, and then that's when I met Garrett Gunderson, and then we went from there. So Garrett, let me get to this one point here. You're going to talk about myths. I'll form it into truth, and then you go on this one. So everybody's talking about debt. I know, well, it's like this priority that they can't tell me why they want to become debt free. Their whole thing is, I want to become debt free, and I think it's because other people, they heard it to become debt free. But many people don't realize that billionaires leverage debt to expand. Like, in fact, Dave Ramsey, who teaches that, the TV show, the radio company, and they go into debt to broadcast it, right? I mean, so it's like, so, you know, how to use debt. Like, people think debt is bad, so explain to them that, like, you could use debt, so to speak, to expand and go to your sole purpose, the two types. Well,
I think that we probably all heard the phrase or the meme, avoid debt like the plague. And so people kind of feel like, oh man, I've got to get rid of this debt. And it actually pushes them into scarcity, because they're not producing or thinking about a vision. They're simply thinking about restricting, reducing, and eliminating at all costs, which sometimes means they don't invest in their practice, they don't invest in their vision, they don't invest in mentors, they don't invest in things that mean like the right people for their organization, or the right processes, the right technology, and therefore they stay stuck because it's a mindset that they're in. So look, most people define debt the wrong way. First and foremost, we have to look at a balance sheet, and it's this simple. If you draw a box and then you just draw a line down the center of that box vertically, it's going to separate it into left and right. On the left side is your assets. On the right side is your liabilities. And here's the deal. If you have more assets and liabilities, that's called equity. If you have more liabilities than assets, that's called debt. Unfortunately, most of the population thinks anytime they have a liability, it's debt, but it's not. Because what if you could buy a practice right now for $100 grand that you knew immediately was worth $250,000 a year in cash flow to you? How much debt would you have if you had to borrow $100 grand? Zero debt. You would have a loan, you'd have a $250,000 or bigger asset, so you'd actually be acquiring equity. So rather than think of good debt, bad debt, or no debt, think about loans that are efficient and effective and loans that are inefficient and ineffective. Where people should avoid debt is when they're borrowing to consume. They borrow for a vacation because they don't have enough money. They borrow to buy something that they've always wanted, like maybe a fancy truck or some type of four-wheeler or toy like that, when they don't have the cash. And all of a sudden, it's not an asset that produces cash flow. It's immediately underwater. That's something to avoid. But if you're actually taking money to acquire things that allow you to be more productive, to deliver more value, to improve your cash flow, then do that. That's okay. But people confuse and collapse the two of them, and therefore they avoid all borrowing. But here's the deal. If you avoid all borrowing, did you realize that when we go to a restaurant and we eat before we pay, we've just borrowed? We didn't pay till after we ate. So do we have to eliminate that too and always pay first? I mean, if we take it to the most extreme conclusions, we realize that people have the wrong philosophy here. And that horrible philosophy leads to scarcity, and scarcity is the greatest destroyer of wealth. And if all of your life is just about paying things off, instead of thinking about what impact you could have, how you can serve people, how you can more deeply impact them, and how you can solve problems out there, and you're only thinking in your own limited world of your problem of what you owe someone and thinking about what you can do to take every dollar you earn to pay that off, that's like dieting. And dieting is D-I-E. It's either a lifestyle and a way of living, or it's nothing. And that's why we see so many people that are obese that are constantly on diets, because, you know, the same thing with debt is debt diets don't work. Dave Ramsey says, get mad, eat rice and beans. Getting mad, that's a form of scarcity. Getting mad, that's a form of you know, getting angry and not thinking about solutions. He's even told business owners, get a second or third job. If my chiropractor is bagging my groceries, you're no longer my chiropractor. That's horrible advice. You invest back in the business, you grow the business, and if you're scared to do it, you need to have a gut check and say, do you believe in yourself? Do you feel worthy of having this money? Do you feel guilt for having money? Are you worried about what relationships and family members are going to think about you? Do you somehow think it's wrong or evil to have money? Because the Bible doesn't say that money is the root of all evil. It says the love of money, where people love money and use people rather than love people and use money. It's where money becomes their master rather than being the master of their money. And we go to the parable of the talents. When the people buried the money in the ground instead of multiplying it, or buried the talents in the ground rather than multiplying, they were slothful servants. And that's the same thing that happens when people get in this debt mentality.
I mean, couldn't said it right. So actually what starts to happen, the debt becomes, or money becomes their master when they're focusing on debt. Because let's say, or someone, because a lot of times people do things and they really don't know why. It's because someone told them. So they're trying to accumulate as much money in the bank. So they're saving, they're not doing anything, they're not investing in themselves, and they're trying to stockpile. But the thing is, you gotta understand that money stockpiled is actually worthless. It can't do anything for you.
Yeah, it's potential at best. Just potential, that's all it is. Latent potential.
Versus, like you said, like you could invest it in another practice or invest in yourself. So I think personal development and developing your skills, other skills, compound your value to the marketplace. So the more value you could bring to the marketplace, that's why you could have one chiropractor, you know, make so much per hour, and then the chiropractor down the road is making 10x that, because one doctor is bringing more skills and value to the marketplace. So really all money is an exchange of value. So why don't you invest in developing your values and your talents and your gifts and your skills and learning? Because and when you study wealth, people who created wealth, that's what they do. They do the opposite of what people are doing, being scared. They're not scared. They look to expand. When people are contracting, in an economy where people contract, they see that as an opportunity to expand and dominate the marketplace.
Well, look, man, when I was in college, there was a program out there built by this guy, Robert Castellone, called LEAP. And to go to the course, get the license, and get the software was $5,000. It was $4,995. That's exactly how much availability I had on my credit card. I bought the course while I was in college, 19 years old. The next thing I knew, I was making more than any professor at that school before I graduated. Why? Because I actually leveraged some cash to learn something. And look, it's funny how many people are willing to go get a student loan, but they don't borrow for anything else. Getting a student loan and going through school is permission. It's not success. It doesn't help you really define the core characteristics of what truly produce major income out in the world. So all it is permission. So why would you stop there? I think about, I've done strategic coach, I've done landmark, I hired Rick Sapio, I hired another guy named Mark Ferber, I hired, you know, I've been in Genius Network, it's 25 grand. I've been in Maverick, it's $1,500 a month. I've been in Baby Bathwater Institute, it's 15 grand a year. I could just start listing this because I want to spend time with people who are extraordinarily intelligent that I could learn from. I can accelerate that learning because of the access of the information that I have. And I just believe that if I'm willing to invest in that development, some of those are just mindset programs to really learn more about where I have limiting beliefs that I was able to break through and have a lot more powerful life. Others were the right connections that I invested in. But what I know is if you invest in mental capital, which is knowledge, or invest in relationship capital, which is high quality people, that's what drives all of your financial capital. And when I just was talking to a financial firm today a big national conglomerate that was like, hey, we'd like to pay you to come and speak. What's your speaking fee? I said, it's 25 grand. Now, you know, I said, I don't know if that's in your budget, but here's what I would cover. They're like, we're going to go to the board. We're going to beg that they bring you in. Now, how could I charge that amount of money to speak? Because of everything I did to develop myself before then. I would have never done a New York Times bestselling book had I not invested in personal development and coaches and mentors and hiring a book promotion firm. Like, there's just access to knowledge, but we have to be willing to spend on ourselves. And it's always like frustrating to me that people will put money in a retirement plan before they funded their own dreams, before they fully funded their own business, because it's kind of cowardly to put money in a retirement plan before you've really developed your own personal cash flow. I look at the Disney story. You know, during the Great Depression, Roy Disney wrote home to his parents and he said, you know what we learned through this depression so far is that we're just going to gamble on ourselves. We're going to put our money in this little studio and see what happens there. Everybody else is putting money into companies they don't know anything about. And that's my question. Is that what people are doing? Because it's comfy, because it's cozy, because it's a warm, fuzzy blanket and everyone else is doing it? Guess what? Everyone else is poor and middle class. They're not wealthy because they put money in a retirement plan. The wealthy people in this world put money into businesses, and as they build that business, they can grow their wealth because it actually gives them an ability to be responsible for the outcomes, responsible for the value creation. And I think that all these financial books are leading people down the wrong road of putting money in financial instruments where we don't have control, we don't have exit strategies, we don't understand the fees, we don't even know why it would go up or down, yet everyone else is doing it. We've got to stop doing that now and start gambling on ourselves, because the other gamble is never paying off and it's absolutely harming people.
Hey, Garrett, what is your belief? Let's go ahead. All right,
I just was taking a drink.
Awesome. So here's the thing, Garrett. What is your take on there's the lie of there's a middle class? Is there really a middle class, or is that just kind of a deception to keep people mediocre and controlled?
Look, man, I mean, there's a poverty mindset and there's a prosperity mindset. And you're with one or the other, right. And you might be calling yourself middle class. You're actually in the poverty side at that point.
Right.
You know, it's either you're embracing these principles and you become successful. And the problem is people on the poverty side think the successful people have done something wrong or bad or taking too much. But the reality is the more exchange there is, the more wealth that expands. People today could be sitting at home, smoking weed, playing Xbox, and they still have air conditioning and food on the table. In the old days, you starved because you had to go out and kill your own food. You had to go out and make your own living. But now, like, you don't have to do anything to survive. But if you want to thrive, you absolutely have to do something. But I got to tell you, it's easier today than it's ever been. With the advent of the internet, with how quick technology is moving, you used to have a lot of money to start a business. It doesn't require any money to start a business today. It takes human ingenuity, innovation, willpower. It takes value creation. It takes a willingness to go out there and do something. So look, you know, the middle class doesn't really exist. It's either you're poor or you're rich. And there's the only thing in between is called a transition. You're moving one direction or the other. So yeah, maybe you're a student graduating, you're leaning towards the poor, but your question is, what is your mindset? What are the things that you're doing? Because are you doing the success habits that are inevitably going to lead to more prosperity and more money? And it's simple. Are you focused on value creation and impact? Are you focused on scarcity and what you're missing out on? And if you're feeling jealousy, envy, entitlement, frustration, you're deeply entrenched in the poverty consciousness. If on the other hand, you're focused primarily on expansion, growth, production, you know, value creation, you know, you're more on the abundance mindset. And it doesn't mean everything goes perfect just because you think that way, but you learn lessons along the way and you continue to grow.
Yeah, that's awesome. Hey, Tabor, do we have any questions? We'll take a couple questions before we close it out.
Actually, we don't have any questions, but Roberto has been commenting on this, yes. And he says Garrett is amazing. He's a truth teller. Awesome stuff.
So yeah, let me go into that just to show you, because a lot of times I think everybody's looking for, if I give something, I'm going to get more of that something back to me. And let me tell you, explain that theory. So when I met Garrett, and when I joined his top program, and then I was with a couple other doctors, and we went to an even higher level. You would think, well, if I was paying this large amount of money, I was expecting that same large amount of money back, you know, kind of an exchange somewhere and doing something. But what I didn't realize, and what I was introduced to, was understanding what soul purpose was. How about relationship capital? That has been because see, relationship capital, it's not someone giving you a dollar bill, but it's relationships that expand your mind, your skills, your assets, your relationships, and actually, as a result of creating more value for yourself and others, it turns into millions of dollars. So when I met Garrett, and then I got introduced to Patrick Gentempo, Roberto. So if you guys seen all the stuff I've done with Roberto, never would have happened. Roberto Monaco is now getting under chiropractic care. Never would have happened. See, do you understand that relationship capital, when it's done organically and right, it benefits everybody. So Garrett benefited me, and then our relationship benefited others. I believe in what he does. I'm an advocate for what he does. I met Roberto, Sapio, Gentempo, everybody, you know, all the people sound Italian, and their programs totally changed my life, and ideas came about. So you bring all these ideas together. So one idea plus another idea like molded itself into this amazing idea. Chiro Thought Leaders was born after that. So you have no idea, but if I said, I remember, Garrett, when I was in Mexico on my first vacation in 8 years of practice, when I was in Mexico, if I would have told my wife, hey, listen, that's just too much money, $25,000, just too much money, and hung up the phone and be done with Garrett, I don't even know where the hell I would, like I'm telling you now, what's it been, Garrett, 5 years now? Maybe, about 5 years?
Yeah, close to that.
Totally, like, see, now I could show you the compound effect. It was compounding over time. Relationship capital plus sole purpose plus more relationship capital and ideas and meeting some amazing people with just to learn wisdom and knowledge outside of you. It totally, now compounding over 5 years, it's always the most amazing thing in the world because it's the people I met, it's the relationships that I was able to do. We would come together, we were able to collaborate some amazing ideas, and it just continues to get better and better and better. Like Roberto today, I was able to text Roberto, hey, let's do something on one period of his life when he used to get into, just walk into offices and he had to survive on commission only. So, you know, let's hear that story so we could continue to create things of value. See, all we focus, Garrett taught me, if you could bring value and all you focus on is bringing value to people, then everything else really takes care of itself. And it's been amazing. It's just been truly amazing. My wife will say the same thing. My kids will say the same thing. And it's because, but it came back to that one decision. If I would have been scarce, which I was, and said, wow, that's just a lot of money. See, I didn't realize 5 years ago it would turn into financially probably, you know, almost 7 figures since the 5 years that I met Garrett, because I would, you know, I never would, of course I would have done it then if I knew what relationships would come out. But you have to be saying, listen, I'm willing to invest in myself, invest in my family, and invest in other people and help other people. And then from there, all these amazing things happen. So no one ever got the short end of the stick. Everybody just value. Garrett gave me amazing value. I'm trying to provide as much value to him. We provide you guys over an abundant value than you could possibly ever imagine. And that is really living an abundant life. You know, that's living that life, not in scarcity, not saying, wow, what am I getting paid for right now? You know, we could all be with our families, but part of our values is impact. And we know the more impact and value we could deliver, then we know everything will take care of itself. So that's that abundant mindset.
Amen.
All right, so it's 8:24. Garrett, anything else you want to add?
Look, when you find yourself in scarcity, there's two ways to get out of it. Number one, you call a peer or a mentor and you admit with honesty that you're facing scarcity. Don't try to be perfect. No one's perfect. We all face this sometime in life. But call someone that can ask you questions you can't ask of yourself. Call someone that can kind of guide you through it. And just being willing to talk about it is part of the solution. Number two, if you find yourself in scarcity, make a list. Who are the 10 people you know you can always create value for? You call one of them up and you deliver value to them. You don't say, hey, how do I create value for you? Ask them, what are you excited about? What are you working on? What's working for you? What's your obstacles? What's your biggest opportunities? You know, what do you need to get to the next level? And anytime you can contribute, you contribute to them, because when you're contributing to someone, it's hard to be in scarcity. Just the other day, I was sleep deprived. I wasn't eating quite as healthy because I'm getting all these gift bags for Christmas that the temptation got to me. And like, I woke up feeling a little lethargic, feeling bad for not being on my A game. And then I did my first call of the day and I rocked the person's world, a chiropractor in the Pacific Northwest. And he was just like, dude, that was amazing. And immediately I felt better. So we get into action and value creation where most of the people in poverty consciousness complain about their situation. They find other people that will say it's not their fault, and they kind of exacerbate the problem. So you've got to be honest. You've got to have a good peer group, and you got to have people that you can call and deliver value to, because that's going to move you out of scarcity. And if you'll just do an honest assessment, where are you most concerned? Where are you most worried? Where do you feel least certain? And if you start writing that down and listing that, that could be the ingredients to say, what would it take to become certain? What would it take to overcome this? Who do I know that can help me with this? Because you're either an idea or a person away from the next level of prosperity. It's either mental capital or relationship capital that's going to help you get there. And a lot of people never tap into that because they don't want the world to know what they're really going through. Man, I got to tell you, during my most difficult times is when I got most open and most of the value poured into my life, because I was willing to talk about it. Roberto was with me during one of the low points of my life, and I just like, dude, I got to go home and take a nap. I can't even deal with this. And then I came back from my nap, and we talked about it, and he made some connections for me. I mean, you've got to look into those situations in your life and be honest about it, because pretending that you're never in scarcity is a lie that's going to hold you back forever. Pretending that your business is always perfect. No one's business is always perfect. Business is a state of imperfection that we're constantly trying to adjust and improve and progress. So don't think that you have to be on your A game at all times. Just be willing to go out and deliver value to people and to admit your situation to mentors or peers. And that's why it's important to spend time with the right people. And here's what will game change for you. Stop spending time with the wrong people. You want to have a great marriage? Don't talk to people that are going through divorce for a little while, because they're so damn negative. You want to be better financially? Stop talking to broke people that absolutely have no good financial advice, and yet they're going to start trying to pre-program you or make you feel guilty about what you have. Start spending time with people that want to see you succeed, that are doing a little bit better than you are, and that kind of help you stretch. Anything less than that, I'm just telling you, do it for 3 months or 6 months, and you're going to have a different trajectory in your life, because there's just a different set of rules. There's a different mindset. There's a different level of consciousness, and you have to get out of the one which is low level. Like, I remember going to this chiropractor's office. He's like, yeah, we haven't grown for 10 years. I'm like, this office is atrocious. You're next to an awful, like Asian massage place that I think is pretty shady, and you're underneath the stairwell and you have no space to grow. He's like, it's just so expensive in my area to get real good office space. I'm like, well, it's 10 times more expensive to have shitty space. So the bottom line is, buck up, spend some cash, and you're going to make a lot more money, because you're going to feel better when you walk into an environment that doesn't look like a crap hole. You're going to feel better when you've got space for people, and you're going to be more attractive if you're in a better location. I mean, that's an example of investing in yourself. And if you're a little bit afraid to do some of these things, take the leap and bet on yourself. You have a lot of control over the outcome. So yeah, that's my sentiments there.
Well, that's awesome. All right, Tabor. Well, Garrett, thanks so much. And Tabor, close us out and what we have for everybody.
All right, awesome. Well, I just want to remind everyone, it looks like everybody's still here, which is because this episode is packed full of value. But you can see there's a big yellow button right below the video. Just hit it. It'll take you over. Garrett has actually been very generous in giving us a $300 discount on 52 weekly issues of Build. This is a $397 program, and just for Chiro Thought Leaders, it's only $97 if you take advantage of that tonight. And so I wanted to read, I'm big on reading testimonials, and I was looking through this sales page, and we were talking about debt here just on this episode. So I just wanted to read this testimonial real quick about these articles in Build. Lori says, I love Build. All the articles are informative and can save a person lots of money. I especially like the article about the simple way to pay down debt. I have implemented the strategy, which has given me peace of mind, reducing my stress. I can now focus on my business. So, and that's just one topic. But Garrett, did you want to add anything or say anything about the program there?
Yeah, let me just say this, that Build is high enough quality that Forbes, an entrepreneur, asked us to become regular writers for them. And we give them small snippets of the true value that we have in Build, because we can go into a lot more detail in Build from Forbes, an entrepreneur. So that's pretty cool. The second thing is, the bonuses in here are pretty phenomenal. I mean, yeah, there's Killing Sacred Cows, my New York Times bestselling book. If you haven't gotten that by now, Zaino's going to smack you up the side of the head with his biceps, and it's going to give you a concussion. You're going to need more chiropractic care. The second thing, though, is a credit score workbook. We get so many people ask about their credit score, because if you get above 780, you can get loans that you wouldn't have got otherwise, or you can renegotiate your interest rates. So we're going to show you exactly how to maintain that. Then the Cycle of Creation workbook. This workbook is the workbook I used to take my company, the Inc. 500, to design the plan for my New York Times bestselling campaign for killing sacred cows. I just did a lesson on it today to a group of our scale people that are in our scale program. I mean, it is phenomenal. It helps you have the right kind of idea optimizer, that before you move forward with an idea, you know whether you have the team, the finances, the wherewithal, and you can compare ideas with the kind of 10-question profile that's in there. The Soul Purpose Activator workbook, this is killer. This is from Freedom Fast Track. This helps you discover your soul purpose. There's the Soul Purpose Wheel, which is the spokes, which are, you kind of go through and write your kind of key abilities from these 10 questions, and then you find the abilities that come up most often, and those are abilities you want to engage. It's the Soul Purpose Stairwell, which is 6 different levels to help you kind of increase your consciousness to know the direct path to live more of your soul purpose and scale your business. And then the 25-question test to find out if you're creating conditions to live your soul purpose on a daily basis. So look, man, those are just the bonuses. If you don't love this in 30 days, we'll give you 100% of your money back. But Build is designed to give you 30 minutes a week so that you have financial breakthroughs, saving tax, saving interest, saving on investment fees that are hidden, saving on, cash flow optimization because you're not overpaying the financial institutions. I mean, it's giving you the framework of how you have financial independence. And I wanted it where if you can't invest $97 in yourself, then everything we said is irrelevant today, because this is the least investment you can have to get access to this kind of information that we've been, building and presenting to so many chiropractors over the years that they used to have to pay 25 grand to get in. And now you can get in and get the resources just at 97 bucks.
Yeah, I mean, that's awesome. I mean, so, when you listen to this, don't ask that things were easier, just wish you were better. And no, this definitely gets you better. So you just click on that. That's a Merry Christmas gift to you guys, or Happy Hanukkah, or Kwanzaa, whatever's going on in your life. But that right there, that's what I call it, when you make the ridiculous the ridiculous. So that's what it is. There's no excuse there. Garrett, the next 2 shows we're gonna have Tim and we're gonna have Dale. So you can just kind of give like a really, really brief kind of where their expert areas are, so we could get people start thinking in those areas for their questions for those shows.
Yep. In 2005, Dale became financially independent in 362 days. So he is a product of the product. He designed airplane engines as an engineer, and he is my co-creator of Cash Flow Optimization and my co-author of Budgeting Sucks. He is a rock solid instructor to show you how to optimize cash flow. Just absolutely brilliant. And the system we've developed for cash flow banking, so you can boost your returns 400 to 800% on your savings, earn interest rather than pay it, cut out the middlemen, and have access to your cash before now and 59.5 without having to, lock your money away, yet have tax advantages. So that's pretty cool. Then Tim Carden is someone that I've known from the time I was in high school. He helped his dad become financially independent using the things I was learning and tinkering with from the time I was a teenager. And he worked with me for a little while early in my career, took a job, went through the school route and everything. And we recruited him for years. Well, finally last December, I was teaching in Austin, Texas, to this pretty big corporation and all their employees. And he stood up and started teaching things I knew nothing about. I was like, damn, I always told people there's nothing you do about a student loan. Oh, I didn't know you could do that with medical insurance. So I was like, Tim, you are the nerd of nerds, man. You got to start teaching this. So he actually runs our Wealth Architecture Premium program, which is our way to get more people involved in our program at a lower price of $25,000, but still give them a lot of the value. So he's absolutely phenomenal. So those are your guides for the next 2. They're great. They have the nuts and bolts. They have the details. They'll give you practical steps that you can take.
Well, great. Well, thank you so much, Garrett. I mean, just thank you for taking the time. And, Mick, he's on there too, Garrett's assistant. We appreciate you too, Mick. Thank you, Tabor, for taking the time as well. And we just thank every single person you are watching this right now. I appreciate you. You are my family. And, if there's times where I get a little, don't ever mistake in my enthusiasm and my passion for you to be better for pressure. When I'm enthusiastic or I might yell or go on a rant, it's all because I've known that feeling, and I'm bringing the people that came into my life when I chose to invest into my life that has taken me to the promised land, and I'm still developing to the ultimate person I was created to be. And I would never go back to that state again. So it really was a true transformation, and I believe you're worthy of that as well, and you deserve it. So have an amazing holiday. Have a great Christmas. We'll see you next week. Tabor, close it out.
Awesome. Only thing I want to end with is to give the actual URL in case somebody's watching the replay. Right now it's on sale for $97. Even if you have to pay full price $397, it's a steal. And just go to wealthfactory.com/CTL is where you'll find that. So thank you, everybody. We'll see you on the next episode. Have a great night.